3 weeks ago, a line of people in matching polo shirts stood outside my gate shouting that I was endangering an entire community by refusing to open my road to the HOA. I sat in a folding lawn chair, cracked open a cold beer, held up a little white scorecard, and gave them a 7.5 for terrible synchronization. What they didn't know, what none of them could see yet, was that I already had everything recorded, documented, and backed up, and that before this was over, their HOA president would be walking past her own neighborhood sign in handcuffs. To understand how it ever got that far, you need to understand two things: the land, and why I don't bend when someone tries to tell me what to do on it. I've lived on this 12-acre patch just outside Riverbend County most of my life. Not all at once. Life pulled me away a few times, like it does everyone, but I always came back. The land waited. It always does. The house isn't fancy. It leans a little to the west, creaks when the wind picks up, and smells faintly like cedar and old oil. My grandfather Earl built the first version of it himself decades ago. He used to say a man didn't really own land, he just took care of it until it was time to pass it on. That idea sticks with you when you grow up watching someone work the same dirt year after year without asking permission from anyone. The driveway alone is a quarter-mile of gravel my grandfather laid down in 1967 with a rented grader and a mule that hated mornings. It curls up from the county road, winds past pecan trees, and ends at a heavy iron gate with our last name welded across the middle. The kind of gate that doesn't yell but doesn't invite you in either. Most people respect that. Around here, privacy still means something. Mornings were slow. Coffee on the porch. Dogs at my feet. Sun rising soft and orange over the cedars. Quiet you could measure in breaths, not minutes. That quiet lasted right up until Clearwater Ridge showed up. It started with survey flags. Little orange markers popping up like weeds along the edge of the county road. Then came the trucks, the concrete forms, the framing crews. Within a year, there it was a full-blown HOA development where scrub and rocks used to be. They called it Clearwater Ridge, which was funny because there wasn't a clear anything within 10 miles. Just dust brush and a creek that only remembered it was a creek when it rained hard enough. Running that shiny little kingdom was Karen Sterling, HOA president. You've seen her type before. Hair sharp enough to cut glass clothes, pressed flatter than her sense of humor, and a voice that could turn the word community into a threat. At meetings, she probably called herself a steward of order. To me, she looked like someone who believed rules were sacred as long as she wrote every one of them. At first I ignored them. They stayed on their side of the road. I stayed on mine. They worried about mailbox colors and lawn heights. I worried about busted knuckles and an old tractor that refused to die. Two different worlds. One problem: geography. The back half of Clearwater Ridge ran straight into rough country. No easy access for construction trucks, emergency vehicles, or any of the toys a new HOA likes to show off. The only practical access point was my southern gate, my private road, the road my grandfather carved into this land with sweat and stubbornness. They looked at that road and saw convenience. I looked at it and saw my family's backbone. 3 days after their ribbon-cutting ceremony, I spotted movement at my gate. 2 men in reflective vests and one in a crisp navy polo stood there like they were waiting for permission slips to be signed. Clipboard guy stepped forward with a smile that tried way too hard. "Good morning, sir. We're with Clearwater Ridge Community Logistics. We'd like to request temporary access through your gate, just for a few days. Construction trucks. It'll save everyone a lot of trouble." He said it like he was doing me a favor. I looked at the gate behind them, then back at him. "This gate?" I asked. "Yes, sir. This road is private," I said. "It's on my deed. It's not on your plans." His smile twitched. "Just a crack. We can compensate you generously." I shook my head. Slow, clear, final. "I already told your president I'm not interested. This isn't a logistics problem, it's a boundaries problem." That's when the friendliness slid off their faces. Clipboard guy flipped to a new page. "You might regret that," he muttered. I smiled, but not kindly. "You're standing on private property without permission," I said. "That's trespassing. This conversation's over." They left fast when I pulled out my phone and dialed the sheriff's non-emergency line. Tires chewing gravel like a warning. The next morning, HOA pamphlets were stuffed in my gate hinges, my mailbox scattered across the drive like glossy confetti. Big red headlines accusing me of blocking emergency access, endangering families, being selfish. They even slapped together a website. I didn't yell. I didn't tear anything up. I added another lock to the gate, welded a second bracket, and mounted a new camera on the east fence line. If they wanted a fight, they were about to learn something important. They picked the wrong land. And the wrong man. The quiet that settled after that wasn't peaceful. It was watchful. The kind of silence that waits. So I upgraded every camera I had. Night vision, motion sensors, cloud backups. Not paranoia, preparation. At 2:31 in the morning, my phone buzzed. Motion alert, east fence. I slipped on my boots, grabbed my jacket, and stepped outside into cold night air. Two figures dressed in black moved along my fence line like they were rehearsing a bad crime documentary. One carried a grinder. The other held a folded piece of paper and wore a fake badge that read, Riverbend Enforcement Officer. A job title that exists nowhere outside an HOA president's imagination. I didn't yell, didn't rush. I filmed. Sparks flew as the grinder bit into my lock. Fake authority, fake paperwork, real crime. Then red and blue lights crested the ridge. Deputy Miller rolled up fast. Hands up, step away from the property. One dropped the grinder. The other ran 3 steps and face-planted into the mud. By the time I walked into the light, both were cuffed. Karen said it was authorized. One of them blurted, panic spilling out. She promised immunity. Miller's body cam caught every word. That was when it stopped being a dispute and turned into a war. The HOA tried damage control, issued a statement claiming shock and disappointment, distanced themselves from independent contractors, then escalated again. Protesters, signs, accusations. One man stepped too close, accused me of assault, threw himself to the ground like a bad actor. My GoPro blinked red the whole time. Deputy Miller arrested him for filing a false report. And that's when I hit the lowest point. Sitting alone on my porch that night, staring at the gate, I wondered if I was wrong, if this was worth it, if maybe I should just take the money and let it go. The land was quiet, but my head wasn't. Then the excavator showed up, bright yellow, heavy tracks, survey flags and spray paint marking my fence like they already owned it. No permits, no approval, just confidence, the kind that comes from someone higher up promising protection. I shut it down with the sheriff and county inspector watching. That night, Tyler Manning came to my gate, Clearwater Ridge's treasurer. He looked like a man carrying a weight he didn't ask for. He handed me a USB drive and a stack of emails. Karen authorized over $300,000, he said. Fake vendors, fake invoices, security operations. And she's planning to pin it on me. That was the moment everything turned. I didn't shout, didn't threaten. I let sunlight do the work. I opened my property to the community, laid out documents, maps, video footage, contracts showing the southern access was never guaranteed. Reporters came. Neighbors asked questions. The truth didn't need drama. It just needed space. In court, Karen's lawyer talked about emergencies and community safety. My attorney played the videos, the grinder, the fake badge, the staged assault. Tyler testified. The judge didn't raise his voice. Petition denied. Case referred for criminal review. 3 days later, sheriff's SUVs pulled into Clearwater Ridge. Karen Sterling stepped onto her porch, still wearing a confident smile. It faded when the cuffs came out. Fraud, conspiracy, misappropriation of funds. As they walked her past the neighborhood sign, a community of trust, no one cheered, no one clapped. The silence did all the talking. I locked my gate that night like I always had. The land was quiet again. Not watchful, just settled. Some lines matter, and once you let someone cross them, you never really get them back.